You want details? Fine. I drive a Ferrari 355 Cabriolet. What's up? I have a ridiculous house in the South Fork. I have every toy you can possibly imagine. And best of all, kids, I am liquid. So, now you know what's possible. Let me tell you what's required.
Life advice. Let's have some fun with it here on Friday, getting ready for the weekend. Although, I got to admit, I think everybody enjoys this segment, but if your weekend is dictated by this segment, then I don't know. Maybe right now that makes some sense. How are your weekends right now, Kyle? How are things?
A lot of the same. A lot of new video games just came out, so it's gonna be wild over here.
Valhalla?
Yeah, you know it.
How is that? I got to tell you, I have not played any video games since I moved. I really enjoyed it. It was a real like end of the day kind of a come down thing for me, where I'd be like, all right, you know what? I'm going to relax, detach here. And then as a writer, I just went, hey, no more video games. Spare time needs to be on improving.
I know a lot of people that are like that, and I think they're probably right, but I also sort of feel bad a little bit. It's just so cool. Plus, I just finished Vikings. I was a late start on Vikings, the show, and just finished it like on the heels of this Vikings Valhalla thing coming out. So I'm like a pig in shit. So I'm good.
How do you think you would have done as a Viking?
Nah, not well.
I think about it all the time. My dad and I have conversations about this.
I think I'd like to be the seer guy who may or may not be doing drugs.
What does that mean?
The seer, like the guy who's in the hut, and it's like basically just like, the gods said
like a Brant from Game of Thrones, the one-eyed raven.
Yeah, sort of, but I think they were more common than Brants. I think probably every little clan had one, but that guy seemed like he had a sweet gig.
There aren't a ton of seers now. You don't hear about guys being like, oh, this is Dave.
They all have
seer.
Toll-free numbers.
Yeah, he's got a place down in Redondo. We're gonna maybe have some beers at his place. He's also a seer, so he doesn't have cable. Yeah, so you think you do bad as a Viking? I think a lot of guys like to think they would do well as a Viking. I think if you went straight time machine to Viking times, like the nostalgic part of like, hey, where's my axe and cool bearskin vest? They'd be like, yeah, but everybody smells terrible. And, you know, if you get in an argument over an ear of corn, I can just chop your arm off, you know? So you would, you know, man sharpening man, iron sharpening iron, as we like to say on this podcast quite a bit, certainly would sharpen you up. I don't know what I was doing the other day. I think it was, I know what it was. I was watching some Sopranos episodes again because I started reading this book about it. And Tony has that scene where he builds it kind of like man cave, but it's outside. It's like that side thing. It's before the separation takes place. So it's like season 4. And he starts cranking these bagpipes because he has this new surround sound. Back in the day when you had surround sound where you were so fired up for your components, you'd wire it. You'd screw in a couple rear speakers. You'd have front speakers. You'd put in a subwoofer that was way too big for your apartment, which I did. I was like king of that. Like, yeah, what's wrong with a 16-inch subwoofer in a 1-bedroom? And people would just be like, dude, you suck. But he had this bagpipes thing going on. So I just was super into the bagpipes for a day, maybe a day. I worked out to bagpipes. I can't even imagine what the neighbors thought walking by the place. Like, what the hell's going on in there? Just a dude in there screaming, lightweight, and bagpipes going. So whenever I think of that stuff and just walking out into a dew-covered field in the English, Scottish countryside, whatever. I mean, Braveheart, we've all seen the movie. And then you like, imagine the adrenaline rush, especially if you were a guy that just had like a stick. You know, you were a poor Viking, or now I'm just combining all sorts of eras, which I understand historically here, but just like, hey, what are we going to do? Oh, we're going to go invade this clan. All right, well, you know, Eric von Erickson is going to play drums, and then, you know, Leaf over here is going to have a stick, and then luckily Thor has an axe. So let's stand behind Thor. That level of like, what's more at stake than just, okay, we're going to walk across this field and fight these other guys because we're mad about the wheat exchange from last wheat season. I think about it probably too much.
You should watch Vikings.
Yeah, I know I should. I mean, their hairstyles, I don't think it was that fancy back then, but Time machine, none of us would have any chance whatsoever. But if you were brought up in that era, then there's something to be said of how, I don't know. Maybe none of us should ever wonder how we would do, because we would all do horribly. You'd just be mad. Be like, this pillow sucks.
I wonder, like, what are the things that I could say? It's like, I can't be like, look at the cell phone. It'd be like, what are the things that I know you don't know that I know, because we've been around for thousands of more years? I don't think the list is that long. Like, what things I could just teach.
They wouldn't want to. Yeah, they wouldn't want to hear about your pillow thing.
Exactly.
The wheel is around, irrigation's around. Their boating acumen off the charts.
I know.
Like when you start
my list is of helpful things is it's very short, if even one thing long. CPR, maybe Heimlich, I could do.
Heimlich, yeah, that would be good.
Save a
because
life.
I'm sure there's probably a lot of pork being digested that just, hey, Vikings don't look like they do the chew rules the right way.
That's right.
Mead. What if you started saying like, no, that's called a hangover, Leaf.
Here's what you need. Here's what you need. Get you some eggs.
That's what it is. Get you some eggs and some bacon, and we're going to put some cheese over that and put it in, let's grab some wheat. Maybe you could come up with the first sandwich. I'm sure sandwiches are around before then. Who am I kidding? Maybe a wrap,
Yeah,
but
crazy. Something crazy like a wrap.
Yeah. I don't know what the tortilla situation would be. I don't even know if Vikings would like. Vikings probably eat anything. I can imagine they're super fussy eaters. Okay, so that was the Viking segment on today's show. Let's get back to life advice. lifeadvicerr@gmail.com. I love this email. A couple of weeks ago, Ryan, I was befriended by a guy that I asked for to spot at the gym. All right, so you asked him for the spot. He got my number and everything. Wow, that seems strange, but I thought, well, maybe he just wants to get in a lift sometime. A few days pass, and I get a call from him asking if I could join a Zoom call with him sometime to talk about some things. I'm a nice dude, so I just went along with it and said, sure. Turns out he was starting to recruit me to what is most likely a pyramid scheme. Have you ever ran into a pyramid scheme guy at the gym? And how would you handle a situation like this when you probably would see him regularly at the gym moving forward? Thanks for everything. Okay. Yes. I mean, clearly when a guy is that forward, he might just be the friendliest guy. But think about this, like the guys listening to this podcast now, and it's kind of weird. Like if you consider yourself, or you kind of know you've been a cooler guy throughout your entire life. You have a cool set of friends. You do cool stuff. People like you. You don't feel like you're ghosted from your friends. And I know this is kind of difficult, but let's just be real here. Some of you have socially aren't as cool as other guys. That's it. That's the way it works out. I've hung out with plenty of circles where I've looked around and gone, you're the least cool guy here. Just rein it in, hang in the background for a bit. And then I could be at another thing where I'm like, okay, I'm clearly the center of attention to this because none of these guys have had as cool of a life as I've had. So, adapt, figure out your roles. Sometimes you take shots, sometimes you don't. So somebody who's really cool would never give you a spot and immediately say, hey, give me your number. So that seems, I mean, unless you're the coolest guy of all time and you're giving off that vibe that this guy's like, I'm just going to hit on this dude because I want him to be in my friend group, and hit on you in a friend way. So chances are really, really eager contact guy, something's going on. And so here you go, Zoom call, ridiculous. And you're being recruited for this pyramid scheme. How would I handle it? I would tell you at an early age, but even more so as I get older, I enjoy conflict, and I enjoy basically telling people, yeah, I don't want to do that. Like,
that sounds awful.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's a terrible idea. But what happened where there's a story, I forget. Oh, I know what it was. It was, you know what? Fuck it. I'll just share it. There was a reporter that I think she thought I was into her. I'm not sure. I wasn't. I was friendly, professional, and that kind of thing. But I think she thought I was like a total mark. And I was back in Connecticut, and my Fridays really sucked because, I didn't really have any friends. A bunch of my friends had been let go. I didn't really have much going on. And as far as the dating thing, I was almost exclusively doing long distance stuff. And so my Fridays, I sometimes would work out later. So I'd be at the gym at close, that when I came home to eat, then the night would almost already be over, even though I was such a night owl back then, back on the East Coast, because I stayed up so late. So I would want the gym to be later than my normal routine, where as soon as the show was done, I was all pumped up. And like, you guys can make fun of me about the gym thing. I needed that. I needed that escape for the hour. I should be in better shape, probably, for somebody that works out and takes, it seriously. But I needed that time, because basically every waking moment I had for 10 plus years, at least doing a daily radio show, all I thought about was the show. The minute I woke up to the minute I went to bed, all I thought about was the show. And I needed that time at the gym. And trust me, this will go back to the email here in a second. And so randomly, like one Friday, like a spring afternoon, I got right home. I was like, you know what? I'm actually going to work out earlier. Maybe I can do something later tonight. And I get a call from this reporter, and she's like, hey, you. I'm like, hey, what's up? She's like, what are you doing right now? I have a crazy idea. I'm like, okay. She's like, what do you think about going down to New York City to pick up my dog? I was like, oh my God, that's a terrible idea. She was like, what? I go, oh my God, yeah. I was like, I'm definitely not doing that. Are you kidding me? That's like 2.5 hours at this time of day, Friday to New York City, and then drive back to get your dog because you're busy? Yeah, I'm not doing that. And she was like, what? I'm like, yeah, I'm not even that big of a dog guy, honestly. And then she kind of was like scaling back, going, well, I was going to give you some gas money. I was like, oh yeah, no, I have tons of money. I'm fine. I don't need your gas money. Yeah, I'm going to the gym. Okay, bye. Yeah, see ya. And it was awesome, because it was such a ridiculous request that I was going to get in the car and drive 5 hours to pick up somebody else's dog because they were busy. I mean, who would ask? I might break up if I had been dating somebody that would ask me to do that. Be like, you know what? I don't really see a future here, and that's such an inconvenient 5 hours. Like, you know what? Why don't we just nip this in the bud now? So that's how I would handle that. And yeah, you're going to see him regularly. We all need to do a better job. He's the one that asked you for your number. He's the one that recruited you for a pyramid scheme. Yeah, he may drive a Corvette, whatever, but you shouldn't feel awkward around him by telling him, hey, fuck off. He should feel awkward about you, that he used an opportunity for a spot to try to pitch you into buying into his pyramid scheme. So don't have the guilt. Like, we assign guilt in the wrong places all the time. And for you, the guy who just wanted to go get a lift in, thought he maybe hit it off with some guy and is going to have a new male buddy. Sometimes we need that. That'd be great. I've got a couple buddies from the gym, but it took some time. There were multiple spots. There were no pyramid schemes. And so that should be on him. Don't feel awkward. He should feel awkward. Fuck him. I actually have a pyramid scheme story too. Have you ever been in a pyramid scheme, Kyle?
No, like Cutco and stuff doesn't count, right? Because that hit Poughkeepsie pretty hard.
Give me that.
Sell it.
Give me that breakdown.
No, just I saw it coming a mile away, but everyone's like, no, dude, the knives are like, these are solid knives, I'm telling you. And I was like, I don't think I'm gonna buy any knives to then sell knives. So I just didn't, but I know there was a Cutco was running rampant around Poughkeepsie.
So wait a minute. Cutco is a knife company.
I don't even know if it's a pyramid scheme, but I think you just buy a bunch of knives and then you sell them at a profit. I think is the way
it sounds like Tupperware, because I remember being a little kid, bored housewives would do Tupperware parties.
Right.
And so Tupperware would send you, I think, the stuff, and then you would have Tupperware parties and get people to sign up, but then the other person would have the Tupperware party. I think Amway is this way. But the pyramid scheme for me in college, right on campus, and I'm a pledge, so I'm at a massive disadvantage anyway. And I showed up to the house to probably do some errand or clean. And these older guys, I don't know, they were like on a bender or something. I don't know what happened. I think it was like an all-night party, and these dudes, and so many of the older guys, actually some of the guys that I just rolled with in school had so much money, so it sucked being broke all the time. But they were like, oh, no, pyramid. We're doing no one had advertised it as a pyramid scheme. They're like, oh, it's a money pyramid. And it took over campus for like days. It was crazy. So I was like, well, how's this work? And then an older brother was like, no, I'll bring you the ATM right now. It's $100 to me. And then once the slots below me are full, you have your own slot. And then the 8 slots that are being recruited for you pay you. And it's all you have to do is draw out a line, and then 2, and then 4, and then 8, and then put arrows to who's going to have to pay it out. And there's your money pyramid, because you know what? Eventually it stops, and then a bunch of people in the middle get screwed over if the people at the top even get paid. People at the top at that one actually were getting paid. So that was the allure of everybody else doing it. I didn't know any better. And the killer line is, well, if you don't get your 8 slots full, then you get your money back, which is definitely not true. That's not how money pyramids work. It means that it spreads out. Some people get paid early on, and then most everybody doesn't. And it sucks because then it puts you in a position where you're calling other people to invest in your money pyramid. I'm on the phone with buddies at St. Mike's being like, hey, are you guys aware of this money pyramid thing, man? Like it's like one guy made $2,400, and I wasn't doing it to be devious. I was doing it because I didn't know. And I'm like, yeah, I guess you get your money back if it doesn't work out. So, it just keeps going and going and going. And guys are just on the phones, working the phones like crazy. And again, some people made money. And then, of course, the guy at the top of mine was like, hey, have you called St. Mike's yet? And then, after a day and a half, you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, this is after you're trying to call and fill your slot. You realize, no, this is not going to work. And I'm glad I learned that lesson for $100 very early on. I could see you. Should we start a money pyramid though? Like if you and I get into it early, you just
can I be at the top, or
yeah,
one of the lieutenants?
Yeah,
I just got to convince 2 people, and then I'm good.
Yeah, let me Venmo you a few hundred, then I'll call Bill House and Kevin Clark.
Ah, shit.
Yeah.
See, that's your guy. Damn it. I'll take O'Connor.
Yeah, but you don't have to do anything. If you're the start of it all, you just sit back. So
that's true.
Yeah.
I feel like O'Connor would be a good one. He just doesn't want to disappoint anyone.
O'Connor would definitely pay the $100.
Yeah.
He'd be like, well, Ryan, I don't love this, but I really respect your work.
Kev, my cousin really wants to get in it. He just doesn't have $100. Do you think you could sponsor him?
So if you're really young and you hear about a money pyramid coming around, say, hey, how many days has this been going? And then how many payouts have there been? Or just say no.
Say no.
Just say no.
Better say
because
no.
you know what you don't want to be doing is you don't want to be sitting there trying to pitch your other friends on this. Okay, we've done a lot of story time here. We went a little longer with Brace. We're just going to do that one life advice. And a big tease, though. Big tease. Make sure you subscribe. Get everybody to subscribe. Rate and review. Need to keep doing that stuff. So thank you for doing so. Van Pelt joins us post-Masters on Monday. And I think Vilma as well. Talking football, because we got to be talking football on a Monday, no question. But Van Pelt and I were chatting the other day. He's down there at Butler Cabin, just, the little Pappy Van Winkle, little short glass of it in his right hand, and he's high-fiving. Well, he's probably not high-fiving. I think there's a lot. I'm making all of this up, except that Van Pelt, that part was true. He will join us. We'll talk Masters. We'll talk a bunch of other dumb shit as well, because he's the man, and it's always great to have him on. So we'll talk to you Monday. Have a great weekend.